Picture a referee standing on the field, 40,000 people packed into the stands around him. A player goes down in the box. Contact maybe, maybe not. He has less than a second to decide, and 20,000 voices are already screaming for the call before he's even raised his whistle. Somewhere inside his brain, in that split second, that noise is quietly rewriting the rules of the game, and he doesn't know it's happening. Home advantage is one of the most consistent patterns in sports. Across basketball, football, and soccer, home teams win more often than away teams, reliably enough that it's been factored into betting lines for decades. The obvious explanation is the one everyone assumes: familiar surroundings, no travel fatigue, a supportive crowd lifting performance. All of that sounds reasonable. None of it turns out to be the main driver. In 2002, researchers Neville, Balmer, and Williams set out to isolate one specific variable that nobody had properly tested: the referee's own ears. They showed qualified soccer referees video footage of the exact same match incidents: tackles, fouls, marginal calls, under two conditions. One group watched with the original crowd noise playing. The other group watched the identical footage with the sound stripped out entirely. Same incidents, same players, same replays, frame for frame. The only difference between the two groups was whether the referee could hear a crowd reacting. The referees who heard crowd noise made significantly fewer foul calls against the home team, about 15% fewer than the group watching in total silence. Nothing on the field had changed. The only variable was sound. A trained professional, whose entire job is built around neutral judgment, was measurably swayed by something happening in the stands, not on the pitch. This wasn't a one-off finding either. It got tested again in the most unusual natural experiment sports science has ever had access to. When the COVID-19 pandemic forced professional matches to be played in empty stadiums, researchers suddenly had a way to study real games, with real stakes, real referees, and real fans missing entirely. No crowd noise, no supporters, just the players, the officials, and silence. Studying hundreds of these behind-closed-doors matches across the top leagues in Europe, researchers found that referee bias toward home teams dropped substantially the moment the crowd wasn't there to hear. That's about as close to a controlled experiment as sports science ever gets outside a lab. Same leagues, same referees, same rule books. The only thing missing was noise. And when the noise disappeared, so did a measurable chunk of the home advantage along with it. The proposed mechanism isn't that referees are consciously cheating for the home team. Ask any official, and they'll tell you, and likely believe, that they're calling it straight. It's subtler than deliberate bias, and in some ways more unsettling because of that. A stadium reacting loudly to a decision functions as social pressure, even on someone whose training is specifically built to resist it. A loud, hostile crowd response to a call against the home team creates something closer to an unconscious flinch. A small, split-second nudge toward whichever decision won't provoke 20,000 people simultaneously. Researchers describe the crowd as functioning like a real-time cue, subtly shaping judgment calls that have to be made in a fraction of a second, with incomplete information under enormous noise. It's worth being honest about the limits of this explanation too, rather than overselling one tidy answer. Not every study agrees on exactly how much of home advantage comes down to referee bias specifically. A 2023 analysis found that while referee bias is well documented, crowd noise alone doesn't fully explain the overall home field effect. Other factors, including the home team's own psychological state, territorial responses, and even measurable hormonal shifts before kickoff, appear to matter as well. Athletes playing at home show different physiological markers than athletes playing away, entirely separate from anything a referee does. So this isn't one single clean cause with a tidy villain. It's several overlapping effects stacked on top of each other, and the referee bias piece, however real, is only one layer of a messier picture. But that piece remains one of the most uncomfortable findings in the whole body of research, because it means something people assumed was purely about the players might actually be, in part, about the officiating, and specifically about how vulnerable trained, credentialed professional judgment is to ambient social pressure it isn't even consciously registering as pressure at all. Sit with what that implies outside of sports for a second, because the referee is about as close to a controlled, rules-based decision-making role as exists anywhere. Clear criteria, years of training, in many leagues, the professional training replay review in many cases. And even there, a measurable percentage of judgment calls can be nudged by nothing more than how loudly a room reacts. If trained professionals making rules-based calls in real time can be shifted by ambient noise they aren't even aware is influencing them, it raises an uncomfortable question about how much of anyone's supposedly neutral judgment is actually neutral. The away team isn't just playing 11 other players. In a very real, measurable sense, they're also playing the room.